It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And welcome to this edition of the 32081 Scoreboard Show. As always, I'm the Todd, and joining me on the phone, who just walked out of an editorial meeting, the Anthony Richards. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm good, Todd. Thanks for having me. I can't believe it's already week 6 that we're previewing.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, where did it go? I was looking at the games played, and I was like, holy cow, how did we get here so fast? Totally crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you had the chance this week. I think you and I texted during the week, and you were saying that you got some requests to go over to Beachside and see what they had brewing over there with Coach Duffy. So you went over there, and they ended up beating Ridgeview 50-0. And you got to see the newly transferred in Eddie Jordan at quarterback, who went 17 of 24 for 271 and 5 touchdowns. That's what I read on Max Preps. And then Cohen Beebe led the receivers with 130 yards on 7 catches. Ground attack only put up 52, but Anthony, it kind of looked like they didn't really need the ground attack on Friday night.
No, not at all. I mean, they came out just firing it down the field, really, leaning on Eddie and his receivers, and it was really actually fun to watch. A lot of high school offenses sometimes aren't quite, as firepower-wise and creative like they are in the passing game. It's pretty fun to go out and actually really see them pretty much for the first time. It was a fun experience. I definitely look forward to making it out there again and watching their product they have.
Yeah, and like I told you, I've met Eddie before. He's a great kid, just fantastic. He's also a great player. But looking at the statistics, I went back and looked at some history. BB's averaging 84 yards per game. And, I mean, did you get the feeling, is this team living and dying by the pass? Or is it just you think because they were getting so high up on Ridgeview and they were able to exploit the pass? I mean, it just seems like it's a very, very air attack type of offense.
No, I think that's just the way it seems like that's just the way they go about things. Like they've got some good receivers and they've got Eddie, slinging the ball around. He seems to be, kind of above maybe even developmentally like most quarterbacks, his age. So and they're just, utilizing it. If you got a quarterback that kind of knows how to, knows progressions, and you got receivers that can find the holes in the defense, I think that they just, they're a team more equipped to pass, so that they're doing that. And it just seems like they're actually, pretty used to it. Obviously, they worked on it, throughout the offseason. That's just their approach. And like I said, it is fun to watch when it's clicking because, we love to see, the ball in the air, just like moving it down,
Now, one quick question I have for you before we move on to Ponte, Vedra, and Nease. The only loss the Barracudas had was to Turquoise Creek, which was a 38-35 loss. And when you look at their schedule as an independent, what is their real next test? Because I know people on Beach over at Beachside, they're probably going to be texting me saying, "Todd, what are you talking about?" But here's my question. So if you look at their schedule, they have Hollis Christian Academy, they got Paxson, Crescent City, North Florida Education Institute, and Providence. Those schools right there are a combined 10-11 after last Friday, with Providence having the largest winning record at 4-1, but they're also a smaller school. So as an independent, really I know they're putting up points. I know they got a great attack in the air with Eddie Jordan out there, and they got some great receivers like in Marco Lanza. But really, what is their next test, or is it or are we going to have to wait and see until they get into a division next year?
I think it's just, you can play the schedule kind of that's out in front of you. And I think they're still in year 2. I think there's just still, it's all about developing as a program to when you finally do get in the district, you hope to be able to compete for district titles right away. And I think they're just kind of, setting themselves up for that. They're getting guys used to, and there's something to be said, used to just getting guys used to winning, like getting that winning culture developed so that when you do enter a district and you're actually playing for a district title, you can just, we're already used to winning. Let's just keep doing it. Now we're just playing different teams and we're shooting for an actual district instead of just, floating out there as like an independent, So, and I mean, they went 6-4 last year in the first year, which is already,
which
that's
is good for
impressive. That's not
year?
Something. Yeah, you expect a little bit of struggle, and they, had obviously their struggles, but they were just able to bounce right back from them, or it didn't last long. I mean, the winning came fairly quick, so I think that's just a testament to the coaching staff and the players buying in early and just kind of getting behind each other.
Yeah, and we wish them the best of luck. I'm sure they're doing good. So glad you got out there to see them. Now let's switch over to Ponte Vedra. They were down at Menendez, and they came away with a 32-12 victory. But Okay, so I've been big on Ponte Vedra's offense, and I even said last week we were talking about the balance. Okay, but here's my question for you about Ponte Vedra. I was a little shocked at looking at the stats line for this particular game because, like we talked about, you got receivers like Landon Okla, who's being looked at by D1 schools. Cole Madsen having a great year at wide receiver. So in total for the team, they only had 6 receptions for 42 yards. Then you look at rushing. And you've got Brian Case with 32 for 153, Burke 11 for 98. Why would you not target your big receiving weapons? Is it that they're just now getting comfortable with the run with Menendez or what? Because I looked at this and I'm going, man, you've got a really good receiving core. Some guys being looked at. Why aren't they targeting them more?
Yeah, I was surprised when obviously the same as you when I saw the box score and all. I was looking and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty run heavy. And I don't know if it's just they were kind of like, well, Burke, passing game, and Burke got kind of all the, they did their thing last week with, scoring all the points, and this week we're just gonna really like lean on Brian, lean on Case, and he's gonna get 4 touchdowns and do his thing. I mean, in a way, it kind of shows they can get it done whether it's passing or rushing, depending on who they're playing. Because I know Menendez is a team that wants to kind of play that possession ball. They get under center, which is a rare thing in itself nowadays in high school football, especially. So they want to kind of establish a running game, and so maybe they just felt let's just kind of just beat them at their own game. I'm not really sure. Maybe they just wanted to give Brian his give him some his
no doubt
workload,
he did a great job. He did a fantastic job running the ball.
Yeah. But I feel like the receivers are there, and they've shown times when they need to pass, they can pass and move the ball efficiently. So I don't know if it's just want to get everyone their workload, over time or before you get into district play, or I'm not really sure. Yeah, but it worked for him,
Well, district play is just around the corner. We're about to talk about that. But but first I want to talk about their defense because I got to tell you, watching their defense or the stat line, I should say, I'm going to tell you, it looks like a train wreck waiting to happen with Nease and Ponte Vedra because both defenses are playing very well. But when you look at the Ponte Vedra defense in particular in this last game, Babin and Mahoney, they came away with a combined 15 tackles. And then the defense on top of that, they combined for 5 sacks with 4 pass defenses. Special teams had a blocked punt and a blocked field goal. How good is this defense and special teams, Anthony? Because they seem like they're really, really good right now.
Yeah, no, I know they do. And Babin, and you got both Babins, running around out there. It's and I know Talon had 10 tackles, 8 were solo and 2 for a loss. It's just kind of those are numbers, and and Menendez is, like I said, one of those teams that wants to run the ball, so it gives your linebackers a lot of chances to pile up those tackles, and obviously they did their part. And Mahoney was 7 of his own from a corner position. That shows he's not just good as a cover guy, but he got that physical side where if you play a team that wants to run the ball, he's not afraid to jam in there as a corner coming off the edge and make some tackles himself. So that's he's a good two-way corner for sure. And just all around, you look at the defensive front, they've got, layers and layers of seasoned, young, just talented guys everywhere. And I think, they're definitely going to be tested coming down here, down the stretch. We've talked about Middleburg and Menendez they're not the best offenses out there to challenge you, but they've done what a great defense does against those type of offenses. They've just done their business, either shut them out or just allowed pretty much very limited consistency from the opposing offense's point of view.
Well, we always say it changes with district games, and guess what? They got a district game this week. They're going to travel down to Flagler Palm Coast 2-2. They lost last week in a very close contest with University, 28-29. So with kickoff at 7:00, I like Ponte Vedra in this game. But I would really like I said earlier, I really like him in this game. But I think they're going to have to get that receiving core used just a bit more than they did against Menendez, because if they spread the ball out, I see them walking away with a victory, probably 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that as well. Flagler has shown the ability. They're averaging 24 points a game. So even in their losses, they're scoring about 28. So they can score. I still have some questions about their defense. So I think Ponte Vedra can move the ball against them, and this is that next test for the Ponte Vedra defense. You've done well all year. Now this is a team's coming in that averages 24 points. Pretty much you hold them below 20, you're used to doing to your opponents, and you probably win the game. So,
yeah, I agree. Because I think this defense is up to that task, because you're right. They have been putting up points. But I think this defense is up to it, and I think that you could see them maybe hold Flagler to maybe 2 touchdowns is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with district starting, it's just that's when that that switch has to flip. Like you've been building all season now for like you're at the midpoint and district start, and no matter all over the years, no matter how much the format changes, choosing who makes playoffs and all that, at the end of the day, the same thing that's consistent is that if you win your district, that's the easiest and most efficient way to secure your playoff spot. Like you don't have to worry about all the outside stuff, all the rankings. You win your district, you're in, you're guaranteed your spot. So, and this is the start of that journey for the Sharks. So I'm sure they're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
So let's move over to Nease, and I've got to ask you. I saw you, but I didn't want to bug you because you were in the middle of an interview. There's a couple storylines to talk about here, but the big one I think is DeMarco Blackman. Just a great kid, fantastic. He was injured. He came back to play. I saw you talking to him after the game. How were his spirits? Because he just looked like he was lit up, like he was happy as can be, happy to be out there. And I couldn't hear what he was saying to you, but it sounded like it was a pretty good interview for you.
Yeah, no, he was pumped up, and he's just one of those emotional guys. You can tell he just feeds this emotion and energy that I think having that on the sideline, walking around is always good, but having it on the field as well, and having him actually out there playing, he's that leader that the team, both sides of the ball, really look for, and look to, and so having him out there, plus Cam Smith was back. I think like probably the words that can sum up the game, best is like welcome back, because I think I heard more welcome backs being said on the sideline during the game, on the field after the game, on the track after the game, because everyone that walked up to either DeMarco or Cam were like, welcome back. It's so good to have you back. Welcome back.
The student section went crazy when they announced DeMarco going out as a captain. They went totally nuts. It was great to hear. So, and I know he was happy to be back, and they really, the offense, like you could tell him and Cam being back, it was at times almost like a totally different offense out there, the way it just – the confidence, you could see it, and they really leaned on them to just run the ball and just really, really pound it, and eventually it wore down Orange Park. Now, you mentioned Cam Smith. And I told you this before as we talked previously, is that's who I was really looking forward to watch this year, because I've seen him work out over the summer and whatnot, and I'm like, there's just something special about that kid. And then you and I were talking after the first game. Here he is. He gets knocked out early against the Tigers. But, man, did he come alive. 17 rushes for 97 yards, just 3 yards short of 100. But I think he really showed Anthony how electric he is on that field, his different running style. But Drafts has got to be happy with having his running back in that backfield. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I talked to Coach Drafts as well, and he was all smiles to have both those guys back. But, especially, Cam, because you can just tell, like he's patient at the line. But he's one of those where like he gets 3 yards, 4 yards, and all of a sudden he just finds that hole and hits it, and he's breaking a 50-yarder. So it's like he has that capability every time you give him the ball, which I mean for an offense it just adds that extra dimension, and for a defense it keeps you up at night. So he's kind of like the dinosaurs in the movie Jurassic Park, where they're testing the fence for the weakness, and all of a sudden he just breaks loose. But it was fun. It was fun to watch him back on the field on Friday night
for sure.
So the offense started to pick things up in Fletcher. So let's switch over and talk about Bryce Frick. He comes in as a quarterback in Fletcher. He comes in and starts this game. Nate Harry comes in, and then Bryce Frick takes the team to the victory. He ends up 14 of 20 for 205, and he also rushed for 61. And then lethal weapon Maddox Spencer, he went 11 for 14 for 175, and he is now the number one receiver in the state of Florida according to Max Preps. Total offense was 419 to only 249 for Orange Park. It seems like, to me, Anthony, the offense picked up right where they left off at the end of the Fletcher game, and they just had a different look about them in this game. I mean, I know Drafts was fired up afterwards, getting the fans fired up for the victory, but this offense, there was just something different about them where they were clicking on all cylinders. I don't know if it was DeMarco and Cam being back or what was happening, but they looked really sharp Friday night.
They did, yeah. And I was talking, to Drafts after about, how would he assess Bryce Frick, in his first start, basically of his high school career. The first time he's starting a game is different from when you come in, you're kind of just thrust in. Now you have a week of preparation, knowing you're going to be the guy, and you can just put all your work into it. And he was very happy with how he just, he basically just had his poise, and in the way he controlled the game, made sure people were lined up. I mean, he really did look like he was just in charge and in command of the offense, and
it didn't look like his first start, did it?
Yeah, no, it looked like he's been doing this for years, So and you could tell because the offense was it was very seamless, and then the play calls coming in and just the operation of it all. And I mean, it was pretty impressive to watch for his just his first time getting the ball as a starter. And drafts definitely made sure to compliment him on that, and he was very happy with how he came out and just did his part. Gave the ball to his playmakers, got the ball to Maddox, handed it off to Cam, and didn't try to do too much. But when he was called upon, he found the open man and really orchestrated a well-rounded attack.
Is there ever going to be a game that we don't talk about Elijah Luckett? I mean, come on. He comes. I mean, it's like every game we're talking about him with either a block punt or a block field goal, and now he comes up big with a huge interception. And I don't know if you noticed this, but on one of them, he actually almost got another block punt. I mean, it was like within inches if you saw that, and you could tell by his frustration. Elijah has really stepped up on the defensive side, and I mean, I don't know. The kid's a ball hawk. It's like he comes out every Friday night just ready to go 100%.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, you expect the special teams at this point. Like almost every kick that's tried, punt or field goal or extra point, I'm almost expecting it to get blocked. And when it doesn't, I'm like, oh man, that was so close, But as a corner on defense, he's really starting to come into his own. I mean, he's starting to like really stick with guys and not, and you could tell the other night it was kind of like he almost baited the quarterback to throw the ball, and when it was thrown, he just he jumped on it. I mean, that's just good technique, good just knowing how to play corner. I mean, so he's really starting to come into his own defense, special teams, just any time he's called upon.
So let's talk one more thing about the defense here. Jacob Curry led the team with 5 tackles, Noah Hodge with 4. Cade Papineau and Elijah, they came away with three apiece. But here's something I want to ask you about, Anthony. I'm watching this game, and I went back and looked at the stats from the other ones. And the one that kind of stood out to me was the non-stat, so to speak, and that was Creel Carter, who got 2 tackles. And we saw him so involved in the first 3 games, if you remember. And I was watching him more closely this game because after the Fletcher game that we talked about, and like I said it last week, it almost seems like they want to stay away from his side of the field. Like he's almost shutting down his side of the field because they know he's such a threat to make a big play on defense. And, I mean, if you're taking away a third of the field, that's awesome for the rest of the defense.
Oh, I know. You got to love that, as a defense, because now, and it allows, other guys to prove that they can make plays. And then what are you going to do? It's almost going to have to, as like Luckett continues to make plays and all, it forces you to, you can't do that. You can't just say, okay, we're going to stay away from Carrillo. It forces you to at least try, throw his, way, sometimes, and then he has a chance to, there you go. You have a chance to make a play again, so it's like, it's one of those where it's like, almost, as a defensive back, not being, a stat stuffer is actually a good thing because it means they're not even trying to throw to you. They're not even challenging you. That's like A+ right there for a defensive back. Like I'm I've done my job basically.
Yeah, I think he's done his job tremendously because, as I looked at that and I realized going back and watching the Fletcher game stuff, I'm like, they really didn't throw in his direction at all. And then Orange Park did the same thing. So maybe Elijah should get him a thank you card or something, or a gift card to dinner, because obviously they're going to give him a little more opportunities to make an interception. So the Panthers are going to travel to Sandalwood for a 6:30 kickoff. Sandalwood's 0-4. They lost to Fletcher 15-7 last week. I like Nease, especially their defense, but I got to tell you, as much as I love our defense, our offense is picking up speed. They look like they had a little bit of swagger during the Orange Park. Like you said, there's a little bit more continuity. It just seems like Bryce has got them calmed down. They're going out there and getting business done. I like Nease over Sandalwood this Friday.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a lot because I know, Sandalwood, they have the 4 losses, but they haven't scored more than 7 points in either of those in any game this year. I mean, and they've had 4 tries. So I'm not sure, I'm sure the Nease defense is excited for that because I think that they can take advantage of that. And I know that the offense, the way it's clicking, can definitely score, the amount of points they need. So I really like Nease all around in this game, other than the fact that it's on the road. But I even think that that's not I don't think that's going to be a major factor. I think the Nease, they should win this game for sure.
All right, Anthony. Well, we got our picks in. We got Ponte Vedra. They're going to travel to Flagler Palm Coast, and then Nease is going to hit the road too for Sandalwood. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week. As always, thanks for joining us. It's been great talking football with you.
Sounds good. Look forward to be back next week.
And that'll do it for this edition of the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Be sure to follow Anthony on X, also known as formerly Twitter, at ANTNY That's ANTNY Rich. And as always, you can read his articles at the Ponte Recorder. Thank you for listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.